Welcome to the Serenity Wealth Now Show with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial show. As a CPA, licensed insurance agent, and investment advisor, Chris brings the financial conversation to life, where the numbers really matter. Every week, Chris sits down with someone from the community to find the financial lessons hiding in their story. Now, here's your financial friend, Chris Cooper.
All right, good morning. Happy Sunday out there. And guys, just so you know, I'm recording this because I'm going to have some beers today. I'm going to talk with my buddy about some beers, or with some beers. We'll talk about beers maybe, about some of the amendments that are going on in today's cycle. A lot of political ads going on, and we're going to try to, have a buddy in here, have a few beers, get rid of some of the BS out there in the market. So I got my buddy Chris Caplinger with me. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. But if we start talking beer, there'll be a lot of BS, and we'll forget about the amendments.
That's fair enough. We got to think about the amendments. That's our focus today. God help us all with these stupid commercials going on right now. I know everyone's waiting for them to end, but they got to be talked about because on Tuesday, we have some decisions to make, and some of them are pretty big. And so, Chris, you've owned a few different IT companies. You've sold a few companies. You're a business owner yourself. This is a big deal. We have to think about this stuff.
It is a big deal.
Yeah,
we should be thinking about everything.
We have to. And some of this is, quite frankly, changes to the Constitution of the state.
Yes.
And that's a really big deal.
Yes.
And we're not going to pull punches. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but I don't want to, that's for the conversation on Amendment 4. So we're going to go through all the big ones here. We're not going to talk about any candidate or anything like that. Unless, are you running for anything that I need to vote for you on?
Not this time.
You can write me in if you want.
I don't think I would be a
I don't
politician.
think, probably, fair. I don't know that I would be either. So that's not a bad thing. So anyway, we're going to have a little conversation today about amendments and our thoughts, and because we all need to get out there. But the one thing that I think everyone needs to understand is have these conversations with your family and your friends. I'm honored to be in the position I'm in. I understand how the finances work, and people come to me all the time like, hey, Chris, what's your opinion on this and that? And, you and I have several conversations via text and all kinds of stuff about some of these topics, and it's fun. It's okay to talk about.
Yeah. And I just oppose you on anything you say.
Well, you should.
Fun.
I mean, that's reasonable. I mean, that's what a good buddy does.
That's right.
Have a few beers and talk some smack every now and then.
Absolutely.
So nothing wrong with that. So we're going to have some fun talking about this. Casual, nothing fancy here, but just some real life guys just talking about some of these things and what we see out there, and, see if that resonates with some folks out there. So let's get into this. And just so you guys know, we're going to be reading some of the amendments live on what it actually looks like on our ballot. And so I don't even know what our ballots are going to look like. So this is going to be kind of new. We're going to get to see it. And we're using Claude GPT on the, or Claude, not GPT, Claude AI, whatever the heck it is.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. We use Claude. We're a Claude house. So we're going to go through it, and we're going to talk. First thing is about Amendment 1. Now, we know what Amendment 1 is. It's got to do with the Parks Department. Okay. So I'm going to read the real language first and foremost, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit more in detail. So what the Amendment 1 does is it renews the parks and water sales tax that exists. It's 1/10 of 1%. Okay. It's been on the books since the 80s. I can't believe that. That's crazy to me. That's been on the books since the 80s. So it's 1/10 of 1%. Okay. It was last renewed in 2016. 80% of Missourians said yes. Okay. 80% of voting Missourians said yes. Now you could argue, is that all of Missourians? Because I don't think a lot of Missourians vote in these August elections.
Oh, yeah, small percentage.
It's a small percentage.
Yeah, but
right?
at 80%, you're getting good take.
It's a statistical thing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, any election is statistics. That's why the second, like on the national elections in November for presidents, like Florida opens up, oh, results are in, and like 2 seconds down, it's closed, and oh, Florida's Republican.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah. But Coop, before you get into the actual amendment here, the idea that you bringing something up, we do get to vote on it every 10 years. That's a great idea.
I agree.
Rather than just having something that's always there.
Yeah.
Stuff expire. Let's vote on it again.
I think that's reasonable. So
even if we win it every time.
The official ballot, right? Renew the 0.1% sales tax for state parks and soil and water conservation on the ballot every 10 years since the 80s, last renewed in 16 with 80% approval. Yes vote keeps the tax going for 10 more years, estimated to be about $140 million in revenue. Or no, ends the tax and ends that funding, and it goes away. Okay. So this is for our state parks, right? So Missouri state parks, we have some great state parks.
We do.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them. We have a lot of, and so we are in St. Charles County. I love the St. Charles County parks. Great parks department that we have in the area as well. We do a lot with the parks. You know,
But that has nothing to do with this.
This is state parks. That's fair. That's fair. But I'm just saying parks in general.
I agree.
You know, I like parks. I think it's an important thing. And there's very few things that I think the government should do. But parks departments is a nice thing. And I think we should care about it.
Well, because I'm not going to write a check to build a park.
That's fair. Yeah. That makes sense, right? But we want we want nice parks. We want nice places for our residents to go. And I think it does make sense. Now, the question is, how should those parks be funded? Now, I've been to many parks, and I'm not sure if I've been to many state parks, because when you go out of state and you go visit a park, do you really know if it's state funded, county funded, or, you know, I think you know if you visit a national park.
Well, no, I think if it's a state park, I would assume you go somewhere and it's a state park, it's funded by the state.
Oh, I get it. I agree.
Versus,
but what I'm saying is when I go, if I'm in Florida and I go to a park, I don't know that I recognize whether it's a state or a county park. I don't know how they get their funding.
Right.
I know if it's Missouri because I just happen to know if it's a St. Charles County park or not, right? But if I'm out of state, I'm sure they do. It's probably clear as day. I just don't pay attention. Right?
That math checks out.
I mean, why would you, right? All I know is I want to go to this park in Florida because they have whatever, and it looks like a really cool place to go. Why do I care if it gets funded? But I do know, and the reason I mentioned the Florida thing is because I've been to some parks in Florida, and they have a little booth at the end, at the beginning of the park, and there's a little gate that goes down. And what do you think they do there?
They probably ask for money.
They probably ask for money. They do. They ask for money. You know, it's X dollars per car, or maybe per person. You get a little ticket. They never check it once you're out through the gate or whatever. Yeah. But that's some of the way that you could fund this. But in Missouri, what we're doing is we're not putting that gate up. We're putting a 0.1% sales tax on the ballot that gets renewed every 10 years. And so the question is, should it or should it not be renewed? If you do want it to renew, you vote yes. If you don't, you say no.
That sounds pretty simple.
It's pretty easy. Yeah. This is a pretty easy one.
So here, the only question I would have on it, and try not to belabor, the Amendment 1 here. We have a lot to go over.
Yeah.
But is this the only way they get funded? So if this gets pulled out, is there no funding left for the park?
I do not know, and I don't think that. I doubt it. Right? I think there's other mechanisms. I would think. Yeah. Just donations in general. I'm sure. Right. So at first I was a no on this, but the problem is I use the parks. I'm a big fan of the parks. I think parks is part of government structure. So the problem is I have some of the misleading ads out there is, oh, well, this is a tax that exists today. So this is just continuing it. So it should be okay.
That is true though.
But that's the ad. Right? Yeah. Like, just because it exists today doesn't necessarily mean it should.
That's right too. Yeah.
You're
right on both accounts.
That's the problem.
Right.
So it's hard for me to vote yes on this one simply because I do feel like we could cut our budget a little bit. Yeah. I think government fiscal spending is a little out of control.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to get into it now, but if you vote yes on this and no on this and yes on
you're a little hypocrite.
Yeah.
It's a little challenge, right? Yeah. Like I know. Yeah. I have a hard time with that. Yeah.
I'm going to vote yes either way. I mean, it's the parks. I'm all in. It's the parks. I love the parks.
That's fair.
But now that you've brought that up, which I was totally yes before, I'm going to walk out of here. I'm conflicted now though, because now I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't we be taxing the people who actually use the parks? But there's another question. How many out of state people are using our parks?
Fair.
And that would be the other thing. So that would be the only thing that helps. Like okay, we could actually pay less, but
Well, and then I'm going to blow your mind real quick on this one too, though. This is state parks. How many state parks do you visit?
Well, I have a state park right down the street from me.
Yeah, but
I visit all the time.
You also visit a lot of county parks as well.
Oh, I do.
You know what I'm saying? So
tons of county parks and city parks.
It's it's county parks, city parks, or state parks, right? Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know. It's the whole use thing, right? Which we'll get to in the bigger amendments as well. So I'm torn on this one. This one is probably going to be a game time decision for me. But at the end of the day, I am a big supporter of government spending money on parks. So I think it should be a line item in a budget.
Yeah. Green space is always good.
I agree. And we've done a lot of wonderful things in this state, and we should. We've got a cool state, a lot of outdoor activity, and I think we want to force that to continue to happen as well. So, and they need funding for that. So, all right. So this is a fancy one here, right? So let's talk about this one. Amendment 2, statewide vote to require Jackson County. You guys, you know where Jackson County is? We had to look it up.
Yeah, it
to
is.
make sure.
It's like Kansas City and all the metro areas.
It's a big area. It's a big area. It's that whole western side of the western side of the state that
Well, definitely the metro and suburban area.
It is, right? So it's going to include your Independence, your Blue Springs, and those kind of things as well. And there's probably people over there that are listening to, well, it goes here and here. I don't know exactly where it goes. I'm on the St. Louis side, guys. But it's the Kansas City.
We know it's Kansas City.
Yeah. Yep.
And we know it's Independence.
Yeah.
And it's
going to be Liberty, Blue Springs. Right.
Some more.
Yeah. Just from a population size, right?
Right.
So it's a fairly big county, right? So the Amendment 2 is about statewide vote to require Jackson County to have an elected property assessor instead of an appointed one, closing a carve out that no other charter county has. Okay. So yes vote, there's an assessor and it's elected. A no vote, Jackson County can keep choosing whatever it is, keep appointing, however they do it, whatever. It's their choice. But Amendment 2 requires them to kind of, from what it sounds like, follow basically what everyone else in the state does.
I don't like to follow.
Yeah? So you're a rebel?
I'm definitely.
I knew you were a rebel, but, when it comes to elections and county assessments, first of all, county assessors never give you any good advice.
Yeah.
They never help you.
Right.
You never get an assessment that says, hey, your property's worth less right now. So,
I agree with that. Right.
So I don't know, man. I kind of feel like this is a yes for me.
But go bigger.
Oh,
this real quick.
Oh boy.
So think about the Fed. We've talked about this a lot.
Okay.
I know we're talking about just the state of Missouri here, but make things bigger.
Okay.
And how many times have you had, anxiety over the federal government telling the state governments what they have to do?
It's not wrong.
So isn't this the same thing?
Except at the county level.
You have the state government telling the county government what they have to do.
And look, if you're the county assessor,
let the county do whatever they want.
Yeah, and if you're the county assessor listening to this podcast right now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be elected or not. Like, I'm sorry for you, but this is some one person, right? I would think.
I guess.
I don't know how
idea.
it works, but I think I'm a yes on this. And I am because I don't know that I really care that much.
I think I'm going to vote no.
Just out of spite for me.
Well, that's part of it, but it's not the only reason. I go back to the whole thing of it. I look at it going, I don't like when, the whole idea is you have your individual governments. We always talk about push government down to the people, push government down to the smaller ones.
Down or out, right? Down or out.
Yeah. So this is, to me, I
think out or down would be better, but yeah.
But this to me is pushing that away.
That's fair.
We're taking let the city do what they want to do.
I might feel differently if it wasn't the case for every other county in Missouri. Like if this question was worded like, hey, should county assessors across Missouri be elected or appointed? Whatever.
So if Missouri, New York, and California were the only three states, you'd want to follow them no matter what?
You see, I get it. I understand what you're saying. And I don't live in Jackson County, but now I have to say what happens in Jackson County.
I got a lot of family from there.
Fair enough. And what do they say?
I have no idea.
Do they care?
Totally clueless.
Well,
I didn't even care enough to ask.
Right. So let's get into the bigger ones, right? So these are the ones that really do, I think, lead a direction. There's going to be a shift that takes place because of this, right? So Amendment 4.
These are big.
Right? So, and this is bigger than people really understand, right? And the noise on the commercials on this one is ridiculous. So Amendment 4 raises the bar for citizen-led constitutional amendments requiring a majority in every one of Missouri's 8 congressional districts, not just a state majority. Legislature referred amendments stay at a simple majority. So if you bring it through from a citizen-led effort up through legislation and a legislator brings it forward, that's a whole different approach, and that is a simple majority Missouri state thing. But if it's a citizen-led constitutional amendment, this amendment would require a majority in every single one of Missouri's 8 districts in order to pass. Okay. So a vote yes, all 8 districts must win the popular vote in each district in order to make a constitutional amendment. A no vote stays exactly as it is today, a simple majority statewide.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
There's pros and cons of this thing. I've went and looked at both sides of it many, many times.
Yeah.
The one that gets me and makes me lean towards one side or the other, it's the citizen-led constitutional amendments.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to, eat crow on this.
Uh-oh.
But I'm trying to think of any citizen-led constitutional amendment I would ever want to pass.
Right?
My guess is probably, no, I don't want any of them to pass.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
But I don't know them all either. I'm just,
Yeah,
this was just me, thinking out loud. I
Of course.
didn't go do the research I should have done.
I feel like the abortion thing that was a more recent example, I've
Yeah.
heard that as an example, was more citizen-led. Now, the language on that was piss poor.
Yeah.
And you and I have had that conversation too. That language on that one was awful. I think there's a lot of people.
But see, that's
now we're getting into some different.
But that's so one side or the other. I'm
It
pro-life, and it's going to be anything that's pro-life. I'm going to be
Fair.
checking that box no matter what.
Fair
And,
enough.
So that's probably actually too big of of one to throw in here.
I've also
Because
heard
that's
something about
probably the
gambling
exception.
machines or something, but I don't, again, you're right. I don't know all that specifics, but the reality is, to your point, and I think this is the biggest thing here, is constitutional amendments, federal, Missouri, like that had better be really flipping hard to put into place.
Yes.
You should have to cross hurdles,
Well,
split the Red Sea, like all kinds of nonsense to get an amendment and a change to the Constitution.
yeah. Well,
Period.
you think about both sides, is it, on the one side, you're thinking, okay, there could be some, crotchety old guy and,
Yeah.
the middle of Missouri that, has never voted in his life. And he's just going to go vote against this amendment, no matter what, for some
Fair enough.
from crazy reason.
Yep.
But on the other side, what worries me on this is, I think, okay, you've got the big cities, and we're well, heck, you're in St. Charles. I'm in
St. Charles,
Louis County,
St. Louis County. So, larger voting basis.
larger
for sure.
voting basis. It would concern me that, let's say we were going to do this amendment, the citizen-led amendment,
Mhm.
that was really going to affect one of those districts really harshly for
Yep.
some reason or another.
Sure.
They wouldn't have a choice. If Kansas City and St. Louis wanted it passed,
Right.
there's nothing they can do.
And it gets worse when you think about how this works in the real landscape, right? In politics, what do you have? You have outside lobbyists come in.
Right.
You have outside organizations spending money to dictate kind of how this resulting
Yeah.
elections take place.
Right.
Scares me.
But now, I think on the other side of that,
Yeah.
this is why you get so conflicted about it,
Yeah.
is now one of those organizations that, want to go against it, all they have to do is go to one county and put all their money into convincing the people of one county to go do something.
Fair enough.
So see, no matter what you do, you have the
you have that problem.
you've got the problem either way.
That's fair. And this is my tie vote goes to on Amendment 4. I'm a yes. Pretty hard yes. And I see both sides of it. You're right. Absolutely. I was thinking about in the side of, hey, St. Louis and Kansas City, really, you could just put all your money there and make it pass.
Right.
But the other side of it is you could go to some other county and just put all the money in to make it fail.
A smaller county. And if you think about, you appeal to what they thought, farming community, industrial community or something. And, you just go say, well, they're going to get rid of the factories or they're going to close down your farms.
That's exactly what the ads would say.
That's exactly what the ads are going to say.
Sad thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's terrible. They don't have the compliance standards that I do on my advertising.
Yeah.
You know?
But for me, I don't know about you, Coop, but I would always lean towards, I would rather that go towards the no side than the yes side. Because if it went towards the yes side and, it allowed something to pass that was bad, that's way worse than, throwing something down. Because if something's really good for Missouri, I would just think
everyone should pass it and it would be a yes.
Well, not just that, but it's going to go back through the legislature.
Well, so that's the other thing.
Majority.
And this is why so to me, it's the citizen-led piece, right?
Right.
Bring everything through the right channels. If you bring everything up through the right channels, through the legislator, the way it's supposed to be, this becomes irrelevant. This is about citizen-led stuff, which should have a second layer of scrutiny. I'm okay with it.
Right. Yeah, same here.
And at the end of the day, it should be dang difficult.
Yeah.
Really hard to make a change to our Constitution.
Yeah, it should not be easy.
And that's why I think I'm a yes.
Yeah.
Because, so what? So those things can happen. Well, if it fails at this level and is that good, bring it forward under the normal process and let it go through the votes.
If it's that good, the legislator's going to bring it up.
They're going to pick it up.
You would think they would.
They
if
should.
If it really is good for Missouri. But the problem is we get caught up on these old things, and we're not going to go, harp on abortion here, whether, one way or another, what we think of it. But that's one of those polarizing things that interrupt this idea.
It does.
And it's like you have this one outlier. But let's talk about all the, it's all the other stuff.
I like what you're saying. And look, I don't always give governments a lot of credit, but I do try to say, we're going to vote in people that we think we're going to be able to look out for Missourians. And if you got a ballot that an issue that comes up, I would think they're going to bring it up.
Right.
You know, and I think bringing it up that way vets it properly, and it gives it the opportunity to say, from an educated perspective of that won't fly, here's why it won't fly, and boom, right? So that's why I think I'm a yes at the end of the day. But these great conversations, and those are the conversations that should be had without the noise of all this BS about what's going on there on the commercials.
Yeah. Because it doesn't, what we're trying to do here is it doesn't really matter how we're going to vote or what we think about it. It's trying to throw all the things that you should be thinking about before you go vote yes or no.
That's right. That's right.
If we're missing something completely here and it should be one way or the other, so be it.
I'm fine.
But just know what you're doing when you go to vote.
100%. And it's wonderful that in this country we have the ability to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not in any danger of getting arrested, my hands cut off, my mouth tied to my,
we get to have a beer and talk about it.
It's great. That's the beauty of this, right? We're talking about changes to a constitution, and I have no fear of being arrested. What a great place. So, all right, this is the biggest one. We're gonna talk Amendment 5. All right, so Amendment 5. All right, so sets up a phase out of Missouri's individual income tax over time. It's tied to revenue growth while allowing lawmakers to expand sales and use tax, requires local tax cuts when local sales tax revenue rises, does protect school funding. Starts with the phase out and permits broader sales and use tax. That's a vote for yes. No income tax, no vote. Income tax stays as is. No new sales tax expansion room. Okay. So that's what Amendment 5 is really all about. Now, I have really
George W. Bush thing there.
I have no new taxes. I still hear it. I love it. I hate taxes. Cap, I hate them.
I'm not a big fan.
I've never met the single person that says they want to pay more in tax and they don't.
I don't know, Coop. You just got through saying you really want those state park tax to come through.
I know. Oh man, I knew it was going to come out.
You knew I was waiting for that.
I know. And I get it. I get it, right? And because I understand what you're saying there. And so income tax is tough. Income tax is a tax on productivity. You are taxing wages, you are taxing income. And in Missouri, you are also still taxing with income retirement account funding. You are, okay? Forget about what the nonsense in the ads are saying. Trust me, I'm a financial advisor. I assure you, if you're taking money out of a retirement account, you are paying, it is taxable. It is 100% taxable. Not at 100%. It is taxable at the Missouri rate.
Be careful on your 100% there.
It is taxable at Missouri's up to 4.7% rate. And it's essentially 4.7, folks, because the progression there is like ridiculous. It's super small. So you're paying taxes on income in retirement or while working. That's what you're doing in the state of Missouri. You're not doing that in every state. Tennessee, Florida, Texas, New Hampshire, a lot of other states do not have this.
But if you are a state employee on a pension, living on Social Security, you're paying income tax. But it is way smaller.
You're probably not paying income tax in that situation, actually. So let's think about that. One of the things you said is let's just take away the pension noise there, because one of the reasons the pension, if you're not taxed on pension in Missouri, it's because you don't get Social Security. That's why. Okay. So Social Security is not taxable in the state of Missouri. There's only like 9 states left that tax Social Security at a state level. Federally, up to 85% taxable. On a state level, by and large, it is non-taxable for the majority of states. Now, if you're a pension recipient and you did not contribute, the best example in Missouri is actually teachers. In teachers, they don't contribute to Social Security. So a portion of their pension payment can actually be non-taxable.
Right. But
only a portion.
Right there, you just made the argument. And we didn't talk about which way we think about this, but you just made the argument for a no on Amendment 5.
I did, based on what people are hearing. Now,
you did it based on the fact that if you just said, correct me if I'm wrong, that if you're on Social Security, you do not pay income tax in Missouri.
Okay, so that's all right. Great point. Let's go there. Thus, why would you vote for it?
No, what I'm saying is though that now the whole idea is that your sales tax is going to be that tax. So you went from paying this to paying something over here.
And that is one of the big arguments. And let's talk about it. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room on this one. One of the commercials says that seniors are going to be big time infected by this. Okay. I work with a lot of seniors. I do. I work with a lot of retirees. They will be affected by Amendment 5 to some degree. Some of them will. Some of them will be revenue neutral on it. Most of my clients will be revenue neutral on it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Your income tax will go down and it will be replaced by sales tax. Who will be negatively impacted? Let's think about this. Social Security is non-taxable as the state of Missouri.
Yeah. But now, I like, going the, devil's advocate on this thing. I was just kind of hitting on the no thing there.
Yeah.
How many people actually they just survive on Social Security and don't have any investment account or anything else?
Yeah, so that's right. So and let's just talk about
I look at myself on it and go, well, Social Security is going to be hardly anything.
That's right. So let's just talk about, we always talk about that, the fair share quotes, right? We've heard fair share. In fact, we've actually heard it whispered. I just want people to pay their fair share. I don't know who said that, but you know who I'm talking about.
I don't want to pay anything.
No one wants to pay it. And I don't know whose fair share you're talking about, right?
Fair share.
So whose fair share are we talking about? But if you survive off Social Security and that's what your income stream is, you are paying zero taxes today. You have a vote on something that doesn't affect you.
It does, because sales tax is going to go up.
Well, no, it's going to affect you, but right now you're zero tax. You are not helping. You're
right.
taking our resources and not paying a single dime into it.
Listen,
that I have a problem with.
I vote often how it affects me.
Yeah.
And I get that yes is better for me. And,
I think so.
There's a really good chance that I'm probably going to go check yes on a ballot. But I don't want to be, just.
Well, I sound heartless when I say it like that.
Pass it on this because, the reality is if you pay no income tax today,
you will pay sales tax tomorrow.
You're going to pay sales tax. So
100%.
However,
it's not wrong.
However, if you are only surviving on Social Security and that's your only income, well, you're not buying much stuff because
you're not buying much stuff. So how much are you really paying?
Probably not very much.
You're still not paying very much.
But you will be paying more. The problem becomes the commercial. The commercials don't talk about going, okay, this is going to cost you, it's going to cost you $50 a year, or $100. It doesn't talk about that.
It doesn't go into detail.
It comes into this whole thing and makes it sound like you're going to have to sell your house type stuff.
That's right. And it can't, because it's based on consumption. And I'm a big believer, you want to control your consumption of tax, don't buy shit.
Yeah.
Like, just don't buy stuff.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, you had to buy groceries, though.
So, let's talk about that. Groceries will be an exemption.
I brought that up for a reason.
Groceries will be an exemption. It's an exemption today. There is people, this is a wonderful in the commercials. They say, oh, it will increase your grocery bill. It will increase your doctor's visits.
It could.
It could.
It gives the government if they wanted to go tax groceries.
If they had to.
But, let's think about your elected official.
Right.
Are they really going to go in and be like, okay, yeah, let's go hit that.
That's right.
I really want to hit people in their back pocket.
I just don't think, and there was a little thing with Kehoe where he was actually asked about this. He goes, well, there's going to be exemptions out there. We haven't figured out all those details. This is really about trying to get something that pushes forward to get this in motion. I do think at the end of the day, medical is going to be exempted. Yeah. I do think groceries and food items will be exempted.
Yeah. But you said something there. I think that people, and especially you're going into, talked about it's going to affect senior citizens and things. And ARP's been after me for years trying to get, my card.
You're a member.
I'm kind of in that.
You're card carrying, buddy.
Getting right in there. But, when you talk about, a politician, it almost reminds me of back when, Obamacare happened, whether you agree with it or not. The thing that did bug people was they said, oh, let's pass it and then we'll tell you what's going to be in it. And you just kind of said something about Keogh there. Well, we don't know yet. We're going to do this or that.
Yeah.
What freaks people out is when you say that. And, when they hear that, they think, oh, okay, here we go. So they won't tell us what it is now.
That's fair.
And what this would be easier if they could just, if there was something that came along and said, hey, here's what we're going to do.
Here's what, and that's fair. And I would love that.
They're not, but they're kind of saying, oh, just leave it up to us. We'll do the best thing for you. Huh, okay.
And that's fair. I can understand the pushback on it. I truly can understand the pushback on it. The reason I'm a yes on it is because I think it's a step in a more positive direction than where we are today.
I tend to agree.
Do I think it's going to pass?
Well, heck, look at that. I'm thinking about moving to Tennessee. I've talked about it all these years because they don't have income tax.
Well, Kane, he's the mayor of Knox County. You could be a WWE Hall of Famer, as your politician. They are state income tax free, and they are thriving. They're growing. They're building a bigger base.
They are.
Companies are moving there. People are fleeing high state tax places and going to these other states. And Missouri could do that. Yeah. People talk about tourism. We don't have enough tourism to like Florida. Irrelevant. There's so many.
Tourism.
It doesn't change. We could be bring in companies. We could be building an employee. Now we couldn't bring them into St. Louis because of that 1% earnings tax. That's a whole nother episode. That's ridiculous, but we can go there later. I'm a big yes on 5 on principle. Do I think it's going to pass? I don't.
Yeah.
I think too much money is being spent on a no vote for the wrong reasons. And I do think it's a net thing that's going to hold Missouri back. We have a stagnant tax code.
Yeah.
We have a growth problem.
We do. And I own a corporation.
Yeah.
So I should say I own a corporation. I own the majority shares in a corporation.
We need to do something differently, right? And so I'm for this because I do think that it needs to happen, and I would rather start happening sooner, because this is not an overnight thing.
No.
This is going to take years to get right and to get done, to become that path to zero. 5-10 years easily. I think that there's going to be some good things that are exempted, but I understand some of the concern. I truly do. But it won't be perfect coming out the gate. I still think I think it's going to fail. I think you do too.
Yeah, I fear it's going to.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'll probably check the yes box.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I think it's the right direction. In a perfect world, I would love to see it be, taxed in this way, revenue neutral, which is wonderful. That makes sense. But at the end of the day, I think that people are looking for those exemptions to be specifically spelled out a little bit more, but that's where we are today. So, all right, we've given you the rundown of the big 4 amendments that are on the ballot. Guys, do your research. Find out what this means, not just to you, but also think about it in terms of some of these things that we talked about that maybe you haven't thought about, right? Because these are big deals, especially 4 and 5. I mean, those are real big changes, and it's a lot more than just how it affects you. I mean, at the end of the day, we do vote for our own capabilities and our own thoughts and how it impacts us, but we do want to maybe have a little bit of a thought for what that future generation looks like too, right? And I think that's where my head goes more towards 5. So I want growth, I want productivity, and I want citizens that I live with, that I reside with in my state, that are my neighbors, that also believe in that productivity mission. And I think that's what I think is important. So, all right, guys. So if you don't understand how this affects you, have a conversation, grab a beer with a buddy, understand what it looks like to you. And if you want to have a conversation about how this affects you from a financial perspective, our doors are always open. Just let us know. We're happy to help. It just takes a quick conversation. So when you're ready for a conversation, just let us know, give us a call. And until then, follow us on social media for more insights, information, and of course, a little fun with finance along the way as well. Thanks, guys. Get out there and vote.
Serenity Now!
Serenity Wealth Now can be found wherever you are at serenitywealthnow.com, on YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and on News Talk STL Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. When you're ready for your own conversation, schedule some time with Chris by visiting serenitywealthnow.com. That's serenitywealthnow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.